some music and let y'all do what y'all do. But I told Ron we was gonna do a little session on the life as it is. So we talked about the state of the world a little earlier. What's going on? You know, we got that out the way. You know, I just want to say this. I love America. I believe that the United States of America is the best place in the world to live. You know what I mean? If I had to choose where I want to live based upon my experiences today, I want to be right where I'm at. I want to be right here in the United States of America. But until I do a little more traveling, that might change. But right now, home is where the heart is. I'm right here. I love the USA, man. You know what I mean? So I want to wave that flag. And I was forced to be proud of it because I had no choice. There was no option. This is all I know. I know the good. I know the bad. I accept the good, and I have to accept the bad. So that's the life I live, and that's what shapes my life. You know what I mean? So, you know, with me saying that, don't be mad at me if you disagree with me. You know what I mean? Because my life in America has shaped and molded me. You know, the way people treat me it's like Velcro. It sticks to you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's what it is. But anyway, y'all, I want to talk to people in general, you know, the brothers and the sisters. I want to talk to y'all, man, because you know we got some things that got us so jacked up in the world, right? Because you know, I often say how pop culture shapes and molds us, right? And we make decisions based upon those things that shape and mold us, right? Because if you don't know anything about the stock market and somebody tells you, hey, you should take that 10,000 and don't buy that car. Buy this stock right here. It's on the rise. If you don't know anything about the stock market, that car for $10,000 is going to seem more attractive than $10,000 worth of that stock, right? Because you only know what you know, right? And, you know, you hang in the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut, right? It's those things and those experiences that shape and mold us, right? And I'm looking at all these different shows. I got to go back to years ago. Me and Diana Bellamy was doing the Diana's Real Talk show, right? So all the stuff you see, podcasts you see today about all this relationship stuff. Me and Diana did that 2016. You know, before it became popular,
right?
We were doing that, right? And we would go to different places where she had speaking engagements, you know, where she would be on panels and stuff and talking that talk, you know, right? But again, that stuff was good and healthy then. Right now, I don't think it's that healthy because we are influenced. We create culture, right? We got this thing about us. You know, we make great music. You know, we set trends and all this other stuff, right? But every trend that we set ain't good.
That's for sure.
Every trend that we set is not good, you know, and the separation gap has gotten so great between Black men and Black women. And in general, men and women overall. As I look at all these different podcasts and shows, you know, either they preaching hate or they preaching the destruction of families, right?
Right.
So what I want to talk about, Ron, what do you think about the relationships today that you see and things you might see on social network and just your encounters, you know, with people? What do you think we at, man?
You know, I think we have a long way to go and a short time to get there. I think that we're entering a phase in this country where, well, I actually believe we're at civil war right now. The shooting just hasn't started or escalated yet, but it's coming. And I think the time for us to have gotten together, put aside our differences was years ago, right? And we allowed them to remain and we didn't address them. And now we're at a critical phase in our history and in the history of this country and history of the world. And if we are not going to take care of one another, if we are not going to come together, either you live together or you die together. And we are not coming together. We're not having these kind of conversations where we have to say, hey, look, we need to sit down and we need to talk. We need to strategize. We need to strengthen our bonds, men and women, families, because we don't know what's coming, right? In weeks to come. Are we going to have to share homes? Like, people lose their homes. We're going to come live together, right? For economic reasons, for survival, for protection, right? We might have to go back to how we lived back in the 60s and 70s where community living, right? So if we're not prepared for that, then how do we survive, right? It's not going to be easy. And, the model for all of that is the husband and the wife, right? If their energy is an energy of togetherness, of inclusion, then it's easy for other people to come in and say, we're going to fall in line with you and we're going to do whatever we need to do to survive, to get through this time. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, well, you only know what you know. And like I said, if you don't see healthy relationships, you don't know what a healthy relationship is. And people that you think have healthy relationships don't. You know how they said the rappers want to be athletes and the athletes want to be rappers?
Right.
Right. I think in relationships, what I'm seeing is happily married couples want to live single lives, but they stay married. Right. So they will tend to live vicariously through single younger people. And what they tend to do is give bad advice, because it sucks when somebody will give you advice that they won't take up, that they won't utilize. Like women tend to spit too much information at each other, right? So that married woman who's not going to leave her husband is quick to tell that single woman who's want to be a wife. She looks at your relationship and she admires your relationship. She wants to be a wife, right? But for whatever reasons, that woman will tell the other woman that it ain't all that great. Girl, if I can turn back the hands of time, I wouldn't be married. I'd be doing this. I'd be doing that. So you hear that, they say you tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. So I look at all these different shows and stuff, right? And I'm saying to myself, and then I think about people I know in situations. I say, damn, that's true, right? And then there's the single woman who's been a 10 all her life. You remember we had the conversation?
Yeah.
Right? Been a 10 all her life. She did a lot of dating. She entertained a lot of men, right? Never became a wife, right? Because I believe that you have to be a wife before you become somebody's wife. It's the way you live, right? So, I'm saying that to say that it's conditioning, right? So she's been a 10 all her life, right? As we talked before. Now she's midlife. I'm not gonna put a number on it. I'm gonna say she hit midlife, and she's having a midlife crisis. You know, men go out and buy cars and stuff like that, right? Well, women do that too. They go out and buy. They make sure they have an immaculate residence, be an apartment or a house. They drive a nice car. They got everything except a husband, or a committed relationship, right? And that woman now forgot the way she lived in her late teens through 20s through 30s. She forgot how she lived, right? So now she midlife. She got everything that most people want. She's set up for the happily ever after. She's just missing one piece: a man, right? And what they don't realize is, looking at all this stuff about men got to do 50-50. I need this, I need that. Don't they know that? I was just telling Linda, me and her was talking the other day. I told him, men just want a partner. You know, all that I'm a 10 business don't mean nothing.
Not anymore.
Because it has no value. All that stuff has no value. I think that, don't worry, ladies. We're going to get on the men too. Right? They up next. But don't devalue yourself. You know what I mean? Because that 10, she went through the bad boy phase. She wanted to be with the bad boy. You know, she wanted to, all the different phases of what men go through, right? But she's never really dated a man that was her age. He was always older. You know what I'm saying? Because the young bull ain't had no money. You know what I'm saying? So you might have liked him, but he had no money. He couldn't
right.
He couldn't wine and dine you. You know what I mean? And you didn't want to have sex in his mother's basement.
Right.
You want to go to the Q Motor Inn. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Which ain't nothing to write home about anyway, right? So you know what? But they don't realize that dude that you broke his heart when you went and got with Crunchy Black that sold crack and had a BMW, right? He done watched you go through all those phases, right? Now you midlife. You run into the heartbreak kid, right? He might be happily married and enjoying his life, right? But now you want to hit him with the remember me, right? And what they don't realize is that we're visual. You know, men are very, we like what we see. But being very visual, we do the knowledge and pay attention to your actions. So if I've seen you several times and your behavior dictates that your whole potential is too high, I don't care what you look like. I'm not going to wife you. You know, you might be a bump and toss. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to wife you. You're not going to be a wife. So all them women that's out there on TV, on social networks talking about, I'm this, I'm that, I need a high value man, and I need this, you need that. You know what? You have no value. What do you bring to the table? Nothing. Do you think I'm off the mark with that one, Ron?
This is what I think. I think that there's some important relationships women need to work on. One is, of course, a relationship with a higher power that will prevent you from devaluing yourself. And the other one, I think they need to work on a relationship with other women, because women don't get along in many instances, right?
No, they don't.
They can't stand one another sometimes. You know, women I talk to say, look, I'd rather work with an office full of men than have another woman here any day of the week. And I think that's something that needs to be worked on. And I think that the fact that women will say stuff like, I need a high value man. But what is a high value man? How do you determine what's a high value man? Is that solely based on bank account? Is that based on how many credit cards he has? Is that based on the kind of car he drives? Is that based on his intellect? Is that based on the fact that he's committed to you, to the community, to a family, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you consider somebody that's high value? If it's only about money, well, okay. You could find that. You probably won't keep it,
Mm-hmm.
but you can find it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, some brothers out there willing to pass off, but for how long,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is your relationship based on? Is this a financial transaction?
Bingo, you hit the needle right on the head.
There you go.
See, when the relationship is transactional, right? Somebody's messed up, be it if the woman's paying or if the man's paying, because there's not mutual respect there
Mm-hmm.
in the transactional relationship. You know, she or he will never be your partner. You know, you can't build that way, you know, because when the cash flow stops, so
everything's
everything else
over.
stops. It's
Everything's
over.
over.
That's right. You know, so you know, like I said, everything goes in phases. You know, like I listen to the brothers proclaim to be alpha males, right? And I look at them, right? Sounds good, right? Look, you alpha male, okay, all right, sounds good, looks good, right? But you're the boss
Mm-hmm.
in everything. You the boss, and usually that woman's a little afraid of you. There's a little with that true alpha male kind of guy. That fear is there, you know. He's something like a pimp that's gonna put his hands on you, you know, right? So at some point in their life, they want to feel protected, so they want to be with the bad boy, right? You know, okay, all right. Then there's that beta guy, right? It ain't much difference between the beta guy and the alpha, because the beta guy, he wants to control you too, right?
Right.
Now, the beta guy is the guy that has the transitional relationship with you, and he know the value he brings is that he can get your oil changed on your car for you. You know, he gonna take you out, let you eat a little bit, might even help you with a couple bills every now and then. But his job is to keep you stuck where you at, where you have to depend on him.
Mm-hmm.
Therein lies his control over you, right? So women would leave the beta, the alpha guy who's a little too rough. He might have lumped up a little bit along the way, but then she met the beta guy. He was a little smoother, you know what I mean? He didn't beat her that way,
Right.
you know what I mean? But he controlled her too. She's still under control. She still ain't making her own decisions, right? So these are things that I'm gonna teach my granddaughter. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna teach the babies so they know these different things. So that, you know, they see the red flags. Stop. It's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make it yellow, and it definitely ain't green, right? But you never hear anybody talk about the Sigma personality that people don't even realize it exists. And when you mention it to people, oh, Sigma is a combination of the alpha, the beta, you know. But the difference is, I think when you have a Sigma personality, you want your relationship to be a relationship. You want your lady to be your partner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you pass the vanity. You ain't worried about the vanity. She gonna gain some weight. She gonna lose some weight. Gravity gonna pull things down. She might not even age that well. You know what I'm saying? But she's your partner. See, most men just want a partner. I want to know you got my back. You know? And the worst thing that can ever happen to a man who is in the Sigma phase, if he comes to the woman that he's with and he asks her for her assistance and she says no, you can cancel Christmas. It's over, because you're not willing to do for me what I'm willing to do for you.
Right.
I know in most cases with most men, why do you think you hear those stories about the waitress from Olive Garden? She met a guy, he happened to be a millionaire. She just living happily ever after. You know what I mean? She ain't got to work. She ain't got to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She home taking care of the kids. She eating bonbons and going to the gym. Right. You know how that happens? Because men really don't make a demand for a woman to bring something to the table other than supporting him, helping him build. We don't look at women for money, for financial gain. You know what I mean? So when you meet the waitress at Olive Garden and she's nice, you know, and she's willing to, she want to come up, no doubt, but she's willing to do whatever she got to do to win, for us to win. So when he say, I got this business, I need somebody to answer the phones for me, I can't afford to pay somebody full time to do it. She want to come up. She sees the value in that relationship, and she becomes his partner to do what she got to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the girl that worked at McDonald's end up living in the mansion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So a lot of people, a lot of women don't get that concept. We don't want your money. And it ain't all about the sex. You know? I mean, your look gets the way you present yourself gets our attention, right? But your character and the content of your character and the way you carry yourself is what really makes a difference. And it's not that, you know, you have to represent me 24 hours a day because I'm going to hold you down 24 hours a day, right? A lot of modern day women don't get that. They think that it's to their understanding that she's the prize, I'm the queen, look at me. Well, look at you. You know? What do you think, Ron?
I think that we as Black people, you know, African Americans, as we're sometimes called, or Black folks throughout the diaspora, we place emphasis on things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not people. You know, we'll go out and we'll buy a brand new car, and we'll go to the gas station and put 94 in the tank, premium.
Mm-hmm.
But then we'll go take our woman to McDonald's to get a Happy Meal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll go out and we'll say, okay, I'm not going to pay child support, but I will buy $200 pair of sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
So our emphasis is on things like, oh, that's a nice gold chain. I want that. How much is it? $10,000. I got that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, I got a new car, but I need rims. How much are the rims? Oh, they're about $3,000 a piece. I put them on. Okay. You know, and that's both of us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, men and women, because women will say, oh, you know what? I really think you should get me these diamond earrings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, baby, you know our financial situation. You know what's going on in the world. Times are hard now, right? Well, if you love me, you would do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you want me to put aside my intellect, which tells me I got to pay these bills. And you want me to go solely on emotion because I feel a certain way for you, that I'm going to just go out and recklessly spend money that we don't have to, just so you can show your girlfriends, look what I got.
Mm-hmm.
Look what my man did for me. You know, at this stage that we're in, this is a critical stage. We can't make these same mistakes that we've been making for hundreds of years.
That's right. That's right.
We got to think differently. We got to do differently. And we really, really going to need one another now, right? Because look, people talk about this anti-DEI thing. This is not new. This is just Jim Crow.
Coming back.
We've been dealing with this.
We've already navigated that and beat that.
Exactly. So this is not something that should come as a shock to us. This is something that our ancestors dealt with right up to when we were born, right? They didn't sign the Voting Rights Act to the year we were born.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is not nothing new for us. But when we were doing things like the Montgomery bus boycott, when we did passive resistance and nonviolence, we relied on one another.
That's right.
We had the community together, cohesiveness.
Absolutely.
You went to the church would hold the meetings.
That's right.
They would make the announcements. They would fundraise.
That's right.
The brother who owned the cab stand would take people back and forth to work and wouldn't charge them because I don't want you riding the bus.
That's right.
Would we do that for each other today?
No, sir.
That's the problem.
No, sir. No, sir.
And if we ain't going to do that, we in trouble.
Well, again, propaganda is propaganda, right? Even in the household, even in the relationships between men and women. Because that's why I think all these podcasts are showing all these women talking about what they need and men trash talking women. We got to get away from that stuff and give people some meat, something that they can bite into of some substance. Because you know what? These young girls are being taught that the hot girl summer and being super sexualized and provocative is the way to happiness. It's not. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not. So I think all these people that's doing these podcasts need to stop promoting bad behavior. Don't encourage bad behavior. You know what I mean? Because them young girls watching that stuff think that I gotta have all these tattoos on me, right? So you get all these tattoos on your body, right? Nobody knows you got them unless you show them. Then you put them places where you have to be scantily clad so people can admire your body art, right? So now you're getting a bunch of attention that might make you feel good, right? When you so-called in your prime, right? But then when you get tired of being passed around, like I said, beautiful women get smashed a lot, right? So when you get finished being ran through and you have an epiphany, or you find God, or you meet somebody in a healthy, happy relationship and they're living a happily ever after, or their American dream, or whatever it is, now you're looking at that saying, damn, why I can't find somebody like that? You saw him, you met him, you didn't want him. You know what I mean?
When you talk about the negativity that goes back and forth on social media, I think people really need to reevaluate what they're putting out there, because we have a president and an administration that's openly hostile, that said these people are natural born criminals. He was sending dog whistles. And when you turn on social media and you see us fighting physically with one another, when you see us going back and forth at each other, men against women, those are all areas that can be exploited to further pull us apart. We can't allow that to happen today, because right now we're in a time, a dangerous time. We talked about how the world is lined up against Israel and against America. And with that happening, how can we line up against one another?
Right, exactly.
We got to get on the same page, right? And it's just so many conversations that we need to have, right? And we got to be mature enough to have them. Because I remember one time, when Romane was with us, and we talked. I think she introduced the idea of polygamous relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a lot of women said, "Man, you are out of your damn rabbit ass mind. Ain't no way in hell I'm sharing my man." Well, some of these sisters sharing their men already just don't know it.
They know it.
Right.
They just won't acknowledge it.
There you go.
Because guess what, Ron? You know, like I know, right? Everybody got somebody at some point, right? And it might not be the full-fledged relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? A committed relationship, right? But every woman got that dude in her phone that she knows she can get a free meal from. She know if she need something done to her car, he gonna fix it. You know, you might not be committed to these people, but you have these people. Same thing with men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody got somebody, but when you meet your person, you have to change your behavior because they don't know your past,
Mm-hmm.
right? You show your past by your behavior. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because see, I remember old bull told me one time before. He said, "You know what, man? Ain't nothing like an old hoe, right?" And I laughed. I said, "Well, why you say that?" He said, "Because she know what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
She gonna be the best wife ever." He said, "The only problem is you got to relocate that old hoe. You can't leave her in her surroundings because everybody knows she's an old hoe.
Right.
So, ain't going to feel good." He said, "Man, you take that old hoe and you move to the other side of the country or bring her up north. Just don't keep going back to where you was from with her." You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And she will probably be the best partner and wife that she could ever be because by now she knows what not to do, right? She only want to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to get on a winning path, on a winning track. So I laughed about it, but then I thought about it. I said, okay. But today, that don't apply because social network and all these different podcasts got all these girls promoting prostitution. You know what I mean? And they don't. It's nothing but being you're just promoting prostitution with all the rhetoric they talking. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
You know, when you say that, right, you have to understand that people are looking at some of these photos.
Yes.
Right. Black women are disappearing in record numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, ain't nobody looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But they're not taking them the ones that you see with the tattoos all over their body and that's out there horn, being passed around. They're taking the young girls.
Well, I'll tell you
The
something.
young girls, the teenagers is the ones that's been coming up missing.
I saw something the other day where they were talking about experimenting on Black women, right? And this is nothing new. This is something that we have been subjected to, for centuries, right? But these are new experiments.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you could find a relatively healthy Black woman, okay, she may got some tattoos, but we don't care about that. We want to know about the body chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know how we can use it to our advantage. And, we have these sisters disappearing. Hundreds of thousands of Black women just vanished, right? And, law enforcement ain't looking for them, so who is? It's up to us to do that. But if we devalue ourselves, man, look, I don't care about her. So what if she gone? Then when it's your sister, your mama, we got to get out there and start looking. Well, you didn't want to look when Sally Mae was gone, right? When my mom was missing, you said, I don't care about her. Now, we need to reevaluate that. Like if a sister's missing, we need to be beating the streets, especially our really young sisters, right? We need to more closely monitor them. Black women, Black children should be able to walk freely throughout the Black community and not be harassed, not be the victim of serious violence, random violence. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of times it's us doing it to one another. And again, right, if we're going to survive through this time that we're in, then we got to come up with a plan. And we need to have conversations. We need to sit down and say, hey, sis, look, I know we've done you wrong. You've done us wrong, right? Now what? What are we going to do now? We need to put all the cards on the table, right? Just put it all out there. I've done this. You've done that. We've done this. Okay. Now that we got it all out of our system, now what are we going to do? Now we got to rebuild. We done tore the transmission down, right? We rebuilding the engine. Let's do this and let's do it correctly because we got to make this thing go.
You're right, man. You 100% right. I just want to see a positive change, man. You know what I mean? I want to see the brothers stop taking advantage of these women. Men are just exploiting these women.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you present yourself a certain way, that's how a man gonna treat you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the joke is on them. Because guess what? You can say you got all these standards and all the things you need, but you're out here calling yourself an Instagram model, you wiggling and jiggling and doing all this stuff. It's a turn on. It's exciting. We're gonna look, right? But guess what? You're not a keeper.
Well, what you always say is, if it's not for sale, don't put it in the window.
That's right.
And unfortunately, so many women are looking to get attention, so they'll go as far as to be on, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much naked, damn near naked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, when you get the attention, right, what kind of attention do you think you're going to get? See, you already advertised, right? You already put an ad in the paper.
That's right.
That says sex.
Mm-hmm.
So when I meet you, right?
All I want is sex.
Don't tell me you want me to come to church with you.
No,
Don't
sir.
tell me you want me to be saved. Don't tell
sir.
me you want to walk down the aisle.
No, sir.
That's not what you put in the newspaper.
No, sir.
That was not a prerequisite in your ad.
They don't realize that you cancel yourself out from being in a committed relationship or being a wife because of what you put on social network.
Right.
All the time.
Because it's going to follow you for the rest of your life, right? So now you are the first lady of the church. But people always, unfortunately, will remember you for who you were, not who you are today, but who you were 10 years ago, right?
And that goes back to saying you got to take the old hole across the country.
And it's hard, right? Because we live in a society, people aren't going to ask you what's right with you. They want to know what's wrong with you, right? And, we're always looking for negativity in one another. And when you got it plastered all over social media, well, here's your problem right here, young lady. 5-10 years ago, you took your clothes off on Facebook to get attention. Everybody's not going to end up like Melania Trump. You know what I mean? Melania was naked. And then she met Donald Trump at one of these Epstein parties. He ain't going to admit it, but that's where she was at Epstein party. Well, she went from being, naked on canvas and in pictures to being in the White House, to being, married to a billionaire.
That's right.
How often does that happen?
Few and far between.
There you go. Few and people need to be realistic, right? Just because you look good on camera, well, when you meet somebody, any man, and I'm not talking about some dude, I'm not talking about some boy that's got the body of a man, but the mentality of a child. I'm talking about a man. A man wants more than sex.
All the time.
I need to be able to talk to you and then you understand what I'm saying. I need to be able to communicate with you. I need you to be not just my wife and my partner. I need you to be a potential mother for my children. And I don't want my daughter at 8 years old walking up and down the street with a miniskirt on.
No, sir.
I don't want that.
No, sir.
And if that's what you think, then this relationship is not going to work. I'm not raising my daughter to feed some sexual desire, some pervert out on the street. I'm not advertising my daughter so she can be sex trafficked and disappear.
That's right.
That's not what we're doing.
That's right.
We're trying to build something here. And if that's what you think, then we need to part ways right now.
Immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Do it now, begin.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You remember that saying? Do it now, begin. You know what I
yeah.
mean? That's the workout right there, man. But that's where we at, man. I chop it with a lot of the brothers, the young bulls, and they be like, man, look at her, and they be beautiful. Sis, you ain't got to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the flip side. The ones who aren't doing that, they still jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
Because they jealous over those women that's doing that, for one. Two, then because of their social circle and the lack of a father figure, have them mentally screwed up.
Last night I worked some overtime at the football game.
Mm-hmm.
And these are high schoolers. And I'm seeing how some of them are dressed. And I'm like, how do your parents allow you to leave the house like that? Now, I know some of these girls may not be leaving that way. They might go to their friend's house and change, or go to the stadium and change in one of the bathrooms and then come out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, how does that happen? But then you look at some of the mothers and how they're dressed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you clearly understand,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, this is how mama dress, and you're a grown woman.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to dress a certain way provocatively, that's fine. You're an adult.
Right.
But your daughter's 12, 13, 14 years old. Does she really need to reveal so much of herself
That's
at
right.
this stage of the game? And for these young boys, right? These guys, same age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in a few years, their hormones are raging.
Yep.
Right? Well, when you see her in school, she got on these tight, ridiculously short shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when you're a young man, right, all you think about is sex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you want me to tell you I love you, right? You want me to kind of jump through hoops. But that's not how this situation began. This situation was built on lust.
Mm-hmm.
If what you want is a relationship built on respect, built on, a foundation, right, that is other than sex, then don't put it in the window.
That's right.
Don't advertise that. There's a lot of sisters that are Muslims, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all you see of them is their eyes. Now, I disagree with that.
Yeah, me too.
These are standards set by men. Men dress however. Women got to be completely covered up. Sometimes wearing these black burqas, and it's 1,000 degrees in some of these countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're going to be with a sister like that, you're not going to see what's underneath, right?
That's right.
That means you might have more of a commitment to her, right? Because you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing shape. You're not seeing if she got a big butt, big legs, big breasts. You don't see none of that. all you see is her eyes,
Mhm.
right? Okay. I'm not saying people should dress that way. That's a
Mhm.
matter of choice. But I do think if what you want is someone who's going to honor you and respect you as a woman, as a person, as a partner, as a friend, don't come naked on the first date.
That's right.
Because on the second date, you can't come with a skirt down to your ankles, right?
That's right.
You can't unring that bell,
That's right.
you know?
You know what? You can't unstuck one.
Yeah.
You can't get away from that.
Nope.
See, look, I know people get mad when I say it sometimes, like I just told that to somebody the other day who was talking, and she was kind of talking about, you can't judge me by this and you can't do this and do that. A lot of things you can change.
Mm-hmm.
You can change your hairstyle. You can change the way you dress, right? You can't unsuck one. So if you suck too many of them, that's gonna be with you. So if you lay down with what they talk about the bodies, you got 100 bodies, and you 40 years old, you're probably not gonna be able to have a good relationship. Because you know what? I believe that the transfer of energy between men
Mm-hmm.
and women, right? You know what? We're all different, and we transfer energy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Look, a man is gonna make a deposit while you're trying to make a withdrawal,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the difference, right? But what I'm depositing in you becomes a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we all these different men and same thing with men and women. You know what I mean? When you done had been a playboy all your life, I know a particular entertainer who women love, but he can't have a relationship.
It's hard to settle down.
One relationship, he can't settle down because he been with so many women. He don't trust women.
Mm-hmm.
He don't trust anybody's gonna love him for who he is, right? So it works both ways, right? And then and with these women, you done been with so many different spirits. You no longer have the ability to bond with somebody. You know how you bond with somebody when you've been with everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I thought about when you talked about the guy, right? I thought about Hugh Hefner.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Hefner, did he ever get married? I never knew
Nope.
Hugh Hefner to be married. I mean, he was dating twin sisters, and Hugh Hefner was in his late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess he never found one that he could settle down with and say, this is who I'm going to commit to, because he had too much at his disposal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Listen, if you just gonna show up at my mansion and take your clothes off, right, and do whatever I tell you to do, well, it's gonna be hard for me to settle down, right? Because it's just too much available to me, And I think he was one like that. And there are a lot of others, that committed bachelors, because it's just like, listen, I don't want to miss nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bro, there's so much craziness out in the world today. So I talk about this stuff because I want to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I want to see people in happy and healthy relationships. You know what I mean? You don't have to stay in that state.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because, your circumstance can change. It doesn't mean it won't change.
Mm-hmm.
Your circumstance can change, but you and your circumstance based upon you. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody gonna save you. You gotta save you.
Absolutely.
You gotta save you. Be careful who you take advice from. Everybody want to see you happy and see you do good, but just not as good as them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You look like your relationship is going good. Somebody come and hit you with the check this out. Let me drop this little ditty on you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because people will steal your joy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I say it all the time, everybody want to be me, but me sometime. And I said, you want to be me? Come get these diabetes.
Yeah.
Come get this heart disease.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Whole different story
Yeah,
then.
come get this.
Right.
You want it? Come on, come get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now that's when they be like, oh, I don't know about all that.
Exactly.
Come get these bills.
Right.
Oh, I don't know about all that.
Uh-huh.
All they know is you look good.
Uh-huh.
You know, you look like you're doing all right. You know what I mean? Man, I'm out here scrambling for my shoes and socks every day. You know what I mean?
Like
and
all of us are.
And I got to remember to have my medicine, take my medicine, and do everything else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, everything ain't what it seems. You know, everything is not what it seems. So, you know, people got to realize that we are the question and the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I talk to some people and they always use that one word question, why? Shit, you know why? Go look in the mirror, have a conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And talk back to yourself while you're in the mirror. Go have that conversation with yourself. You know why? You know, you know, I just need to find me a good girl. You know what I mean? Oh, you got a good girl, man. I need one of them. Yeah, well, go get her. But first, you got to stop being the whoremonger that you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because just like men see what women do, women who are wise see what men do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna be like, yeah, you got the nice car, you got the nice crib, you stay fresh to death, but you're no good for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you done rode by her too many times with a different little spinner in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows
what you all about.
What you about.
Mm-hmm.
She might like you, but she knows what you are. She's not gonna choose you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And again, you know, men don't choose women; they choose us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No matter how hard we lay our game down, and you know what, if she got with us, it's because she wanted to get with us.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes they say the same thing you do to get them is what you got to do to keep them, right? But we all love the beginnings, right? So when we first linked up, it was just me and you one-on-one against the world. You really didn't have that much time to hang out with your girlfriends because what we was doing was fresh and exciting. All of a sudden, now you back with your friends. You or girls' night out or going out with the fellas, right? And if you hanging out with a bunch of whoremongers, you're going to be a whoremonger, even if it's just for the night. You know what I'm saying?
And what you said about, you know, the beginnings, it's the endings that hurt.
Oh, my, you already know. You already know. You already know.
Oh,
we love the beginnings, but that ending, oh, man, kiss Maggie's ass. Oh, my goodness.
That's the rough one, man.
Yeah, boy, you know, you be playing the game of what ifs, and you be kicking rocks. Like I tell people with music, you might love a song, right? But you don't understand the lyrics until you're going through something. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Till you going through something, it's like, oh, that's what that means. That was a nice melody. It felt good, but now I understand exactly what you know what they talking about. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like that old Bobby Womack song, right? You know, if you think you're lonely now, right?
Yep.
That old Bobby Womack song. You know what? Every now and then I got to play that to myself, right? Because sometimes your woman be saying things and be bumping her gums and, you know, looking at what she thinks is a happy relationship with a little girlfriend over there. You know what I mean? I got to play that song to myself. Like, yeah, she complained about what she ain't got, what a girlfriend got. She want me to go out and get him for.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like.
That's how we called it the blues.
That's right, boy.
Right? Called it the blues.
Man, you know what? So that's why I'm a music person. I'm a music connoisseur. I love music, you know, and I do what I do the way I do it because I use music as my medicine. When I'm in a certain state of mind, I go to my music. You know what I mean? sometimes it only takes my music to pick me up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you got to throw your hand behind your shoulder, behind your neck, and grab your collar and pull yourself up. You know what I mean? So, but sometimes people get to a point where they just be bumping their gums about what they ain't got and why they unhappy. You know what, girl? You talking about you ain't happy? Why you think she telling you what you should be doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because she don't like what you doing. It ain't because it's bad. You know what I mean? It's because, look, your car ain't never broke down. You know what I mean? You got a roof over your head. Your kids is clean. Everybody happy. You know what? That's it. That's it. Sometimes that's all you need. But look at old girl there. She crying because you know what? She got a Section 8 situation going on. She living in the projects, right? You know, she got to get in the elevator and smell like urine.
Oof.
You know what I mean? She got all these things going on, and guess what? She got Crunchy Black, Word is Bond, and Kareem that she rotating. She got a rotation, right? Some men don't mind being on in the rotation because they just getting blowing goals, stopping pops. Ain't nobody sticking around. You know what I'm saying? $40. That's the limit. $40. Oh, you hungry? You want something to eat? Yeah, I got 40 here. I'm gonna give you this $40. Go ahead, man. You know, because Chinese food done got expensive.
Oh yeah.
You know, and everybody don't want the Wendy's 4 for $4. So I'm gonna give you 40.
Right.
You know, because guess what, girl, you rock my world, man. Boy, I tell you, he got in the car. His man, yo, where you at, man? I just left this old funky ass broad, man. You know, I love her, right? You know, she just rock my world, man. Ain't nobody do it like you, baby. like us say, ain't nobody do it like you, baby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you still in your circumstance. It didn't. You being the hot chick didn't change your circumstance. I don't care how good you look. That $40 is all you getting. All tough. You getting. That's it. 40. 40. You know? But that's what it is.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap this up. Me and Ron hung out for a while today. It's been a while since we sit here and did this for a minute.
Yes, it has.
You know what I mean? But what y'all think, man? Any parting words, Ron?
You know what? This is a good time today. You know what I mean? We talk about a lot of things, and I just hope that it resonates with some people, and people will take this and have these conversations, right? Not just, relationships, that's important. But understand the world you live in, the time you live in, that's paramount. So we, do that. Don't just listen to what we're saying, take it in, right? Analyze it. And if it fits for you, then you need to have these conversations. You need to take these conversations moving forward. You know what I mean? So I hope we can do this again real soon, brother.
Oh yeah, well, we'll be back at it on Thursday, or if not, we'll be back at it on Saturday, man.
No doubt.
We're gonna give it to him straight, no chaser. You know what I mean? This is what it is, man. I appreciate you, brother. I love you, man.
Love you too, brother.
It's always a good time, man. So with that being said, we're gonna jump into our regularly scheduled show. It's been all that in a bag of chips, and we're gonna see y'all next week.
Peace.